Just 2 months to go for the general election, the Indian government today presented its last budget. Finance Minister Piyush Goyal provided something for everyone to cheer in this budget. Here are the major takeaways. The income tax exemption limit has been hiked from 2.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs. It means that those who are earning up to 5 lakh rupees a year will not have to pay any income tax. There's more. Now, standard tax deduction for the salaried class has been hiked to 50,000 rupees. So it's a substantial relief for those in the lower income groups. Right. Next up, in a major relief for farmers, the Indian government announced a direct income support for the agriculture sector. The scheme will give 6,000 rupees to farmers with small land holdings. It will cost the exchequer 75,000 crore rupees. Some more good news for the agriculture sector. A 2% interest subvention will be given to those farmers who have been severely affected by natural calamities. A pension scheme has been announced for the unorganized sector. An assured monthly pension of 3,000 rupees will be given to unorganized workers when they turn 60 years old. Moving on, the defense budget has received a substantial hike this year. The finance minister told Parliament that more than 3 lakh crore rupees will be allocated for the defense budget.
Banking reforms and insolvency and bankruptcy code.
Now, the interim budget 2019 had many schemes for the farmer. The biggest announcement was the Pradhan Mantri Kisan-Centric Budget, a scheme under which the government aims to directly transfer 6,000 rupees every year to farmers who own up to 2 hectares of land. The scheme will cost the exchequer 75,000 crore rupees in financial year 2020. Now, for this financial year, the Modi government will allot 20,000 crore rupees.
Pradhan Mantri Kisan-Centric Budget PM किसान नाम की एक ऐतिहासिक योजना इस सरकार ने मंजूरी की। PM किसान इस योजना के तहत जो वल्नरेबल किसान हैं, जो छोटी जमीन रखते हैं, 2 हेक्टेयर तक की जिनकी जमीन है, 2 हेक्टेयर तक की जमीन को, उन सभी को सीधा उनके इनकम में सपोर्ट, डायरेक्ट इनकम सपोर्ट 6,000 रुपए प्रति वर्ष के हिसाब से देने का निर्णय सरकार ने किया है।
The amount will be disbursed in 3 installments of 2,000 rupees each. That means ahead of elections, 12 crore farmers will get the first installments of 2,000 rupees. The government has also said that farmers who are severely affected by natural calamities will get 2% interest subversion. Now, rural distress has been a major issue in India. The government has already tried to hike the minimum support prices for Rabi and Kharif crop. It has also tried to aid the farming community to change procurement prices. But the indebtedness and the weakness in rural sector have hurt the farmers, and they want immediate relief. In fact, the defeat of the BJP in the key state assembly elections has often been attributed to the so-called alienation of farmers. Now, to address the acute agrarian distress, Finance Minister Piyush Goyal announced 6,000 rupees for farmers per annum as income support. Now, farmers with land holdings of up to 2 hectares will be eligible for this direct income transfer scheme. A similar model which guarantees a minimum income for farmers is already in place in the states of Odisha and Telangana. The proposal had been put forth by Niti Aayog, which had recommended that farmers who have land holdings up to 2 hectares should be given an assured direct income transfer of 15,000 rupees per annum. The scheme will benefit at least 12.56 crore marginal farmers and will cost the exchequer 75,350 crore per annum.
प्रधान मंत्री किसान सम्मान निधि PM किसान नाम की एक ऐतिहासिक योजना इस सरकार ने मंजूरी की। PM किसान इस योजना के तहत जो वल्नरेबल किसान हैं जो छोटी जमीन रखते हैं, 2 हेक्टेयर तक की जिनकी जमीन है, 2 हेक्टेयर तक की जमीन को, उन सभी को सीधा उनके इनकम में सपोर्ट, डायरेक्ट इनकम सपोर्ट 6,000 रुपए प्रति वर्ष के हिसाब से देने का निर्णय सरकार ने किया है।
Right, moving on, there were some big-ticket announcements on the taxation front from Finance Minister Piyush Goyal, and the middle class can breathe easy. The government has reduced the tax burden of the middle class. The government has announced a full tax rebate for people earning below 5 lakh rupees with investment in pension schemes and other exemptions. The rebate is going to help people who have incomes up to at least 6 to 6.5 lakh rupees. And how many people will it benefit? Well, a whopping 3 crore people, accounting for 18,500 crore rupees. The tax rebate could be a game changer for the government ahead of the general election.
Individual taxpayers having taxable annual income up to rupees 5 lakhs will get full tax rebate.
Now, the standard deduction has been raised from 40,000 rupees to 50,000 rupees. There's also an income tax rebate on notional rent for people living in second self-occupied house. Piyush Goyal said that tax collections and the tax net have both widened. Tax collections have risen to 12 lakh crore rupees in FY19. The growth in the number of taxpayers has risen by 80%. He cited the simplification of direct tax system as the reason for the rise in the collections. While there is no change in the direct tax rates, income tax returns is going to get easier. The minister promised that all income tax returns will be processed within 24 hours and refunds will be issued simultaneously. As of now, 99.54% returns have been accepted without any scrutiny. The filing will also get anonymous. The minister promised an unmanned system to scrutinize IT returns. The BJP members and their allies brought the Lok Sabha down thumping tables when Finance Minister Piyush Goyal announced the tax exemption for people earning less than 5 lakh rupees annually. The thumping soon gave to loud chants of Modi Modi by the Treasury benches. Goyal resumed his speech only after the chanting stopped. Now, citing the formalization of the economy, Finance Minister Piyush Goyal said that over 2 crore people had been registered for the EPFO scheme in the last 2 years. The minister also announced a mega pension scheme for the unorganized sector called the Pradhan Mantri Shram Yogi Mandhan, under which workers over 60 years of age will be provided with an assured pension of 3,000 rupees per month with a contribution amount of 100 rupees per month by the beneficiary. The Finance Minister announced that the gratuity amount will be increased from 10 lakh to 20 lakh rupees, providing a major bonus for those in the formal sector.
प्रधानमंत्री किसान सम्मान निधि पीएम किसान नाम की एक ऐतिहासिक योजना इस सरकार ने मंजूरी की। पीएम किसान इस योजना के तहत जो वल्नरेबल किसान हैं, जो छोटी जमीन रखते हैं, 2 हेक्टेयर तक की जिनकी जमीन है, 2 हेक्टेयर तक की जमीन को, उन सभी को सीधा उनके इनकम में सपोर्ट, डायरेक्ट इनकम सपोर्ट 6,000 रुपए प्रति वर्ष के हिसाब से देने का निर्णय सरकार ने किया है।
Now, the annual budget is a financial decision by the government, but the fact that this budget was presented months ahead of the general election is not lost on anyone. This year's budget was clearly a populist budget. We back it up with facts. Now, Finance Minister Piyush Goyal announced some big sops this morning, like the mega pension scheme for the unorganized sector. A 3,000 rupees monthly pension for workers of the unorganized sector above the age of 60 would impact 42 crore Indians. Next up is the direct income scheme for small and marginal farmers. The government announced direct cash transfer of 6,000 rupees annually for small farmers. Now, this would impact 12 crore Indians. Then comes the relief for the salaried middle class. The income tax slab has been revised. All those with an annual income of less than 5 lakh rupees will not have to pay any tax. Now, that would impact roughly 3 crore Indians. So, this budget has impacted nearly 57 crore Indians. The country has roughly 91 crore Indians as registered voters. So, 60% of the total voter base has been brought under the umbrella of this year's budget sops, which begs the question, is this a financial decision meant to deliver a political outcome? Now, farm income scheme, doubling the income tax relief for the middle class, and a pension scheme for unorganized workers. All these are major poll planks meant to reach out to a larger number of people. But the fiscal cost of these plans is enormous. So what will be the economic impact? Does the Indian economy have the strength to embark upon these measures? The fiscal deficit target for this financial year has been revised to 3.4%. The fiscal deficit target for FY20 is pegged at 3.4%. The revised deficit target for the current financial year is an increase over the estimated target, but it is not a drastic increase. The outlay for farm relief alone is expected to cost 75,000 crore rupees. Now, to account for such a high expenditure, the government must increase its gross borrowing. Now, gross borrowing for FY20 will be rupees 7.6 lakh crore. For the current financial year, gross borrowing comes to 6.34 lakh crore rupees. Thus, the gross borrowing required would increase enormously. Now, there is also a plan to provide pension to workers in the unorganized sector with incomes below 15,000 rupees a month. But the outlay for that is only 500 crore rupees, which is not an amount that will cause much burden to the government. In fact, under this scheme, both the worker and the government will contribute a small and equal amount till the worker's retirement. By putting the onus on the worker, apart from spreading the plan out over a longer time period, the government has attempted to minimize the fiscal cost. Now, the income tax relief to woo middle-class taxpayers also adds to fiscal burden. The tax rebate announced in the budget would cost the exchequer nearly 18,500 crore rupees. The relief provided will benefit 3 crore Indians, but the fiscal cost is minimal. Interestingly, none of these measures, which mean loss of substantial revenue, will add to economic productivity. They could also be inflationary, thereby forcing the RBI to cut rates. But consumption is likely to revive, thus the fiscal consolidation path taken by the Modi government so far has come to a temporary halt. And abandoning fiscal prudence may lead to a backlash from foreign investors as well as ratings agencies. Now, markets welcome the budget because the fiscal slippages are not massive. Equities of FMCG and auto sectors rose as the budget revived hopes of an uptick in demand. So in sum, with only a slight revision in the current account deficit and fiscal deficit targets, the budget is fairly balanced. And if rural demand and consumption pick up, thanks to the government's policies, it will bring cheer for the Indian economy. Now, populism has turned elections on their head. SOPs attract voters more than structural reforms or development. While the federal budget is reasonably balanced, the many attempts to appease a wide section of voters have not gone unnoticed. The criticism of this budget being a populist one will only intensify as the general election draws near. But what cannot be questioned is the fact that budgets in an election year have always resorted to populism, and populism often pays. Now, when governments sense defeat ahead of an election, they have a tap to turn. When opposition parties want to gain people's support, they turn the same tap. The name of the magic tool is populism, and it does have an impact, at least most of the times. Now, when the erstwhile UPA government of Prime Minister Manmohan Singh won a second term, populism was touted as a key reason for it. The largest ever farm loan waiver in Indian history was announced in the federal budget 2008-9. Funds allotted for MNREGA, which was launched in 2006, were carefully reallocated to specific states ahead of the 2009 general election. Months later, the UPA government registered a resounding win and Manmohan Singh got elected for a second term. So, is populism the solution to winning elections? There's no clear answer to that question. The same Manmohan Singh government in 2014 tried to play to the gallery. In 2014, UPA 2 increased the number of subsidized cylinders to 12. Women were provided loans at rates on par with farmers at 7%. Special educational schemes worth 1,600 crore rupees were announced in 2013. Also, pay packages for federal government employees were hiked. Minimum wage under MNREGA was hiked to be on par with minimum wages for agricultural labor given by the states. Food security bill was introduced. All of these measures reeked of populism. But the Congress-led UPA lost by a landslide. Now that is an example of how populism is not the only remedy. And most of the time, populism has reigned supreme, especially populism that caters to rural economy. Farm loan waivers have been relevant in populist politics. In Karnataka and Punjab, for instance, where the Congress party won after losing many assembly elections, the party came to power by promising loan waivers. Even in the recently concluded assembly elections, the Congress party chief raked up the issue of loan waiver and income support to woo voters. Now, that populism helped the party post significant victories. Now, ahead of the general election this year, the same issues are cropping up again. The Congress promises extremely costly populist measures such as universal basic income and national farm loan waiver. The government has stuck to income support, but the fiscal cost is manageable. The budget has populist elements, but it is fairly fiscally balanced too.